11. Shuchau deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmanah nya atyuchhadram na atinichanam chailajin kushottaram. We have embarked upon the journey of meditation. It is the time now to plunge into meditation, to immerse into meditation. This is science. Meditation, the procedure of meditation is a science. It's a technical subject. Do's and don'ts and vital inputs have to be mandatorily observed. The prerequisites at the end of the state of mind have been well elaborated and discussed in the verse number 1 to 10. Now it is upon the practical initiation. How do we move further? In order to meditate, you have to sit down. Where to sit down? How to sit down? All these aspects have to be now detailed. From verse number 11 to 16, it is hardcore message about the procedure of meditation, the technique of meditation. Under the 11th verse, it says, the place where you sit down for the meditation, the point, the place, that particular spot where you sit down for the meditation should be so conducive that one single term which they have, shuchau. Shuchau means something which is devoid of sound. No sound. In other words, no disturbance. No bad odor. What disturbs you? When you sit down for a quietude, a moment of quietudeness, what disturbs you? If there is a bad odor around, you cannot concentrate, you cannot indulge yourself into the process of interiorization, because now you have to interiorize, and in order to interiorize, the first and the foremost mandate is there should be no foul smell, no bad smell around. One thing. There should not be such sounds that come and distract you, that come and draw your attention towards themselves. No loud music, no heavy movement of traffic, nothing of that kind. It has to be absolutely tranquility prevailing, total harmony, where you can easily compose, gather your attention, withdraw your scattered mind within yourself. You can roll back within your own brain so that you gather yourself, you shelve yourself, park yourself within. For that, you need nothing that could distract you, sound, nothing that could distract you at the end of the odor. It could also be the most opportune moment as well. When I talk about the most appropriate spot, place for meditation, it also means the most opportune moment, because today the life in cosmopolitan, especially in the modern times, we have to find that opportune moment when there is no sound around. Especially in the early hours of the morning, the vehicular movement on the road is less. The movement, the sound of the industries around is less. The nature is more in harmony. Those are the most appropriate moments. There are certain places where there are certain moments when a bad smell, a bad odor is injected more in the environment. Certain factories around, they specially ooze out some bad smell at certain moments of the day. So keeping all in consideration, the spot that you determine, the spot that you conclude for your inner plunge, because now you are supposed to plunge within yourself, has to be such where all these three vital considerants have been observed. Devoid of them, you cannot consider the place of meditation as the most apt one. It was earlier suggested by great seers that people should go out for open areas, especially in the hills or in large gardens beside a river or a lake. But these things have become slightly inaccessible. Maybe in certain parts of the world they are easily accessible, but cannot be said with certitude for almost all the places. So whatever we discuss has to have some sort of a universality into that, especially since I live in Delhi. I cannot easily find a near access to such places which I can confine as a lake, as a river, etc. I need to travel to those places. So in that case, when I cannot easily travel, I cannot easily fly to those places, it has to be within my own house, a secluded corner. It has to be a secluded corner where I can sit down, and that secluded corner has to be on an opportune moment when there are no other movements within the house. People are not running towards the kitchen, people are not running outside towards the main gate to open and answer a bell outside, no telephone calls are there to interfere. Such opportune movement has to be ascertained, and then I can sit down. That has been termed as Shuchau Deshe. Deshe means place, Deshe means place, and Shuchau means all these three aspects which I have mentioned and detailed over here. Then it says, once you have determined such an appropriate, apt place for sitting down so that you can withdraw yourself and plunge within, then what kind of a seat you should observe for yourself. Here the word which has been assigned to it has got 4 words together. It's a composition of 4 words. It says that where you have to sit down, that particular seat should have 3 layerings, 1, 2 and 3 layerings. What are those 3 layerings? The first one is kusha. Kusha means dry grass, dry mat. I can say dry grass. I don't have the most appropriate word for kusha, so I can say dry grass. In India, when we have to sit down to observe any ritual, any religious ritual, or even if we have to sit down for our contemplation, we spread something which is made out of dried grass, a dried straw, long straw that we term as kusha. So it's a dry grass which is woven in such a manner that it becomes a piece of spread. It becomes a piece of spread that we just place beneath and we sit down. So the first layer has to be such. Remember, this verse says it has to be 3-layered spread. It has to be a 3-layered spread upon which you should be seated the moment when you are about to meditate. The second is, it says something like skin of a deer or a lion. I know you'll have your eyes frowning upon the skin of a deer and lion. I'll come back to that. And the third is a sheet of cotton cloth or a silk cloth. It could be either. It could be either cotton or silk. Now these 3 layers, and the last word is uttaram. Uttaram means you have to reverse the order, which means at the bottom it has to be the grass, the dried grass, spread of a dried grass. Atop it has to be the skin, and the topmost has to be the cloth. This is the order. This is the order for the spreads which has to create a composite seat where upon you have to sit down and meditate. Now, I said that your eyes might frown when I mentioned skin of a deer or a lion. Yeah, those were the time when great masters, the sages, they never used to seek skin of a deer or a lion from a hunter. Rather, they themselves used to try and find out an animal who has undergone a natural death, and they used to procure the skin from them. But today it has become a law, a deep understanding between all of us as an observation that today all these animals have almost touched the line of extinction. When these animals have touched the line of extinction, so it is of no use to make a mention that one of the layers of the seat that we have to spread for meditation has to be skin as one of the composite. So therefore, we have to replace it with something which is rather better than this. And what is that? Instead of the skin of a deer or lion, we can have a spread of a woolen blanket. A woolen blanket. You can have a piece of woolen blanket, not the entire blanket, because entire blanket when folded together becomes a thick spread, and that may distort the straight erection of your backbone. The backbone has to be absolutely erect, straight. Therefore, a piece of blanket spread has to be the second composite atop the grass. So all these three, skin replaced by the blanket which is woolen blanket. So beneath at the bottom is the grass, atop it is the woolen blanket sheet, atop it is a sheet of the cloth that is cotton, and thereupon you be seated in order to contemplate, to plunge inside. Now these three have a vital significance for their presence into this three-layered composite spread. What is the significance? When we are in the process of meditation, automatically we generate a lot of energy. A lot of bioenergy is automatically generated by the process of meditation. Now we have to observe that the earth in itself shall easily drain out whatever is generated into us in the form of energy. In order to insulate our seat from being transferred the energy into the ground, we need to create an insulation. The utmost insulation that was understood in the ancient times and even observed today is dried grass. When you are standing atop the dried grass, you are totally insulated, because this is a very bad conductor of electricity. No current can easily pierce through and then transcend further into the ground when there is a sheet of dry grass beneath us. So this is the bad conductor. Second aspect is, when we sit down with crossed legs or in any of the yogic posture, maybe lotus one or any of them, when we are seated, automatically in the process of meditation, the withdrawal of energy and sensation rolls back into the brain. Thereby, the blood circulation weakens into the legs. They need to be warm, especially in those movements, so that in longevity there is no adversarial impact into the arteries and the veins of the legs. In order to safeguard and have some sort of warmth being injected into the legs, this woolen blanket or the deer skin at those times was made mandatory at the second layer. Another aspect to be observed is that when you are directly touched with a woolen blanket or a deer skin, there are times that if the atmosphere around, the weather, the climate around is slightly warm, then an irritation might get induced in your legs. That means when your skin is in direct contact with the woolen blanket, there may be a chance for irritation to erupt. In order to diffuse that irritation that might occur, a sheet of cloth, cotton, is spread in between. So that gives you a comfort, a convenience to be placed upon a cloth of cotton or silk, which will relinquish all chances for any irritation to surface and erupt towards your own skin. So a composite spread of all these three has been prescribed under the verse number 11 of chapter 6 as the seat whereupon the seeker must be seated upon. And this can be very easily made available. Now the another question which comes up in the mind is, there are people who cannot sit cross legs. The first part says, Pratisthapya sthiram asanam atmana. You have to acquire a posture where you are absolutely still. There is no movement, there is no turbulation, no scintillation. You are not moving, you are absolutely still. How do you gather that? You have to be in a posture which is not irritable, a posture that is not inconvenient. Now, there may be people who cannot sit down on the floor with crossed legs. There may be people who want something to support their back. There are people who would like to spread their legs flat forward so that they need not clasp their legs, because clasping of legs may produce certain kind of joint problem or something of that kind. So there is no problem for that matter. It has not been restricted that you cannot sit in a posture that comforts you. The foremost is to acquire a posture that comforts you, that gives you that element of stillness within inside. Most important is that you should not be irritable. You should not be in a moment of irritation. You should not be moving around. You should be still, straight, absolutely in comfort. In whatever posture you sit, the seat has been prescribed, but for the posture, according to the modern understanding we have developed, because with the changing times, the mandates change. The way of life changes. The adaptation aspects of the body also undergo a lot of change. In today's times, when the physical dimension of a human being is not molded to that extent, therefore, for people who yet seek to meditate, they can have a discount for themselves. Very easily they can discount themselves to be seated upon a bed, to be seated upon a chair, but not sinking chairs, not sinking sofas, because the one that are sinking ones do not give you the opportunity to keep your back straight. So it has to be so hard so that your back does not sink or bend. That is the foremost observation you must observe all through. It says that once you are confirmed that you have a composite of all these three as a spread beneath you, whereupon you have to be seated, you are now also confirmed that your posture is not prone to any irritable aspects. It gives you stillness. You can very easily be established thereupon. That is the right moment when you can consider that now I should be able to meditate. There is another esoteric aspect which great masters have conveyed for this. They have said that your place of meditation should not be that high where there is deficiency of oxygen. It should not be that low within the caves, deep caves of the earth, that there is again deficiency of oxygen. In other words, they also mean the asana, the place of your seating has not to be that high that there is an apprehension of falling down. It has not to be that low where easily the worms and the ants can creep towards you. It has to be at a moderate height where you neither have the apprehension to fall down, nor there is any chance for the creepers to come down and disturb you. There is another esoteric aspect which few great masters have pointed out in the aspect of not so high, not so low. They say that grass represents earth, the skin represents water, the cloth represents fire, which means the most bottom chakra is Muladhara, above that is Swadhisthana, above that is Manipur, the hair on the navel, and in between is the heart chakra, Anahat, because above that is Vishuddhi, Agya, then Brahmarandra comes. So not so high, neither so low, in between falls the Anahat chakra. It also, they say, it means that when you are in the seat of contemplation, you are seated for meditation, the moment you start with your breath cycle, you take a gentle deep breath and you have to focus first of all on the inflow and outflow of the breath. Automatically and easily, most easily, you can focus upon your chest expanding with the inflow and contracting with the outflow. So start your meditation from the heart chakra and then further onwards. Few great masters have mentioned this esoteric understanding as well. So this complete verse has got two parallel understandings that we can draw. The first one was upon the requisite inputs for the place that you determine for meditation, the ingredients of this composite spread that we have to spread to be seated upon, and then aspects of not to be seated very high neither low. At the same time, the esoteric aspects of Anahata Chakra. This journey shall continue till 16th verse in the same manner, although the entire chapter is assigned for meditation yoga. Yet we'll talk about it more in the next class, in the next live classroom. We have a live classroom every second and last Sunday of every month at 9:30 a.m. IST. Till then, thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om.